3.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Idiomanic Top 3.
With Nicholas, I am the gaming correspondent for Idiomatic.
And I am Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic and movie critic. Today we are going to talk about disappointments and pleasant surprises. So what we're going to do essentially is each list 3 of our disappointments in terms of entertainment, experiences we've had discovering something and it just went womp, womp, womp. Sort of like the first time I took off my pants in front of my girlfriend.
Yeah.
And
basically, you went somewhere with some expectations and it's just completely not met.
Exactly. And we're going to follow it up with 3 pleasant surprises because, we don't like to leave you on a downer. We like to think positive.
Yes.
At least that's what I told my girlfriend to convince her that she should stay with me.
Did it work?
We'll talk about that another time. Instead, why don't you get us started with your first disappointment?
My first disappointment, it's the biggest one, is X3. X-Men United.
No, X-Men United is X2.
Okay, sorry, you're right.
The Last Stand is
The Last Stand, yes, okay. I tried to forget that movie so bad that I didn't move right. But X2 was such a great movie. All the characters were developed, even like the side characters that only had like maybe 2 or 3 lines. You knew what they were, they had personalities and everything. Then you enter X3 and they basically just pile on new mutants. They don't introduce any of them. They destroy the personalities they had set up in the second one. So it's basically just, at the end, they're just, mutants fighting, and that's it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, especially with the assessment that these characters don't actually have characters.
Yeah.
One of the running jokes that I introduced in the review for The Last Stand that I wrote, and we tend to use it for people who defend the movie, is like, name me the character that becomes Magneto's right-hand person.
Yeah.
Because she's never actually even named in the movie.
She's Level Girl.
But I actually didn't have that experience that you had with X3 because I knew Brett Ratner was directing it. And I was like, there's no way that Brett Ratner can direct a fairly complex franchise like the X-Men franchise, because these are superheroes that can't save the day. They're fighting prejudice. If they win against prejudice, it'll feel hokey. And also there's the fact that you can't punch prejudice. This is a pretty complicated superhero franchise. And Brett Ratner is a guy you bring in to do something really straightforward and simple, and it'll be passable. It won't be great, but it won't be awful either. He's a talented man, but he's sort of just coasting,
Okay.
So I was expecting something between average and mediocre at best, and I sat down and I'd say it's more towards mediocre than average. But it wasn't outwardly bad either. It was just sort of that happened and it wasn't very good.
Yeah. No, my expectations were really high. Pyro was my favorite character in the second one, and to have him have 3 lines and not even them being consistent with the character that was there in the second movie, you're like, oh my god, this is horrible.
The dude spends maybe a month or 2 between the 2 movies off screen with Magneto, and suddenly he's a homicidal maniac.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to kill my old friends. I want to kill my old friends. I can kill my old friends.
Yeah, that was just this is not consistent.
No, I will agree 100% that this is not a very good movie. I think that's the thing with this week's theme, is that I had a hard time just picking 3 movies for each category because I tend to go according to filmmaker and the topic, both. Does it make a good match, and not just following the franchise and whatnot. So it allows you to coast a little bit your expectations, sort of set your expectations a little more accordingly.
Okay.
I find
I need to learn how to do that. But I'm sure you still have disappointments, so what is your first one?
I sure do, and I'm going to start big as well. I'm going to start with Episode 2, Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Yes, I know everybody's going well, you actually thought this was going to be good? And the answer to that is yes, I actually thought that was going to be awesome. The thing that's different with me than most people is that I actually like Episode 1. I genuinely think it's a fun movie. Do I think it has major structural problems? Yes. Yes, I do. But the scenes themselves, there's a lot of awesomeness in there, and I actually like the characters. A lot of people argue that there are no characters in episode one, and I completely disagree. They're cold, distant characters, but that's sort of the point, is that before the balance is restored between the dark side and the light side, everybody was good, but kind of distant and nonchalant, and
Okay.
that's sort of the balance that is achieved at the end of the sextology. Sort of brings warmer character because they know there are stakes. They know that evil is at bay and all of that. So for me, it all made sense. As a kid, I always wondered who would fall in love with a man that could become Darth Vader. And episode one answers that beautifully. A cold bitch. You know?
I was gonna say a robot, but okay, that's good.
And I like her that way. Like, I'm using the derogatory word bitch, but with affection.
Yeah.
So I was gearing to like episode 2. It's gonna be like, okay, they set up the characters. There's a Trade Federation conspiracy, and good God, we've heard a lot about the setup of that. So surely now it's gonna be action and just pay off for that, hour and a half of exposition we got in the first movie about the bloody Trade Federation.
Yeah.
And it's just such utter crap that we got. It's first of all, the main Anakin grew up. They chose Hayden Christensen, who had a good track record at that point. Loved him in Neon Rider. But he's so bad. He has no chemistry with Natalie Portman. Although, I mean, to be fair, Natalie Portman is one of those actresses that seem to be difficult to have on-screen chemistry with.
I guess.
So it's not just all on him, but it's badly directed. And the thing that killed me is that the story makes no bloody sense.
Yeah.
Like, mild spoiler alert, but the movie starts with Obi-Wan chasing after a bounty hunter that essentially tried to assassinate Queen Amidala.
Yeah.
And kill the wrong person. He killed Keira Knightley, which some might argue killed the right person, but that's beside the point. And he's like, oh, he's the bad guy. He's the bad guy. He's the bad guy. Then the bounty hunter goes to the clone factory. He's like, oh, they're the bad guys. They're the bad guys. And somewhere around the climax, Obi-Wan went like, no, they're the good guys. It's like, what happened?
Yeah, that is a problem. The Force clouded his judgment, Dimitri.
Yes, that's
dark
what,
side.
That's what a lot of Star Wars fans tell me, and here's the problem with this. It might have clouded their judgment, it didn't cloud mine. This movie sucks.
Well, to be fair, back then when it was about to come out, the glass ceiling from episode 1 hadn't broken yet. I hadn't realized how nonsensical the story was in the first one. So I was still looking forward to the second one too. I was like, oh, the second one's going to be good. Then, I got kind of nervous when the title came out, Attack of the Clones. Like, what the... Attack of the Clones? What is he smoking? What's happening here? So my expectations kind of dropped a little bit. And, it was kind of disappointment, but not that bad. Because, I saw I saw the warning signs coming. That, maybe he's lost it.
No kidding. A little tidbit about that, though. The first article to be posted on thedreamersedge.com is actually a joke article making fun of the fact that, the title of episode 2 is Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, I remember that article. But, the title was like foreshadowing.
And by the way, listeners, if you want to read their article, it is still available on dreamersedge.com. I think it's Star Wars Episode 3 Pitches is what it's called.
Yeah.
Alright, let's move on, I guess.
Okay.
Your number 2 pick for disappointment.
Well, my number 2 was a movie that everybody said I should watch because it's the best thing ever, and the director is the best director ever, and I should watch it and I love it. So I sat down and I watched Pulp Fiction, and boy, does nothing happen in that movie, and it's just annoying and very, very bad. It's just a bunch of criminals doing stuff, and you get nothing in the end with it, and I really hated it.
Tarantinis everywhere are shaking their fists at you right now.
I know. And I understand the point that, okay, it's a movie all about style, and he's trying to make it a stylish thing. It's style over substance. There's no problem with putting substance with your style. Okay, the two of them are not mutually exclusive. Okay, I enjoy Substance, and just the style, it just didn't do it for me.
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough. It's a subjective thing to a certain degree. It's like, can you go along with just style and enjoy a movie like, you know, I know, Sucker Punch or 300, or are you like, hey, this movie really ought to mean something, you know? I can already hear the sounds of Tarantini still shaking their fists. It's like, Pulp Fiction was a profound movie, and I'm actually a fan of Pulp Fiction. Like, unlike you, I actually think the movie is a great achievement in cinema. I think movies were done a certain way before Pulp Fiction was made, and then when Pulp Fiction came out, movies were made a different way. He sort of dismantled the idea of a narrative. He sort of deconstructed the structure of a movie, essentially.
Okay.
And so for me, Pulp Fiction is held right up there as one of those really important movies. But I also think you're right. I think it is style over substance, and I think that is the point. And anybody who might say, no, this movie's profound, I dare you to tell me what this movie's about. Like, don't tell me what the plot is, but, like, what is the message of this movie? What is the theme of this movie? And I'm sure some of you will accurately point out that, you know, the movie's called Pulp Fiction. It's about imitating the pulp style. And if that was your answer, A, you're right, and B, you've just confirmed Nicolas' point that it is about style.
Thank you for confirming that for me.
But there's no greater message in it. That movie is built like a cyclone. There's a lot of stuff happening. It's spectacular and beautiful to see in its own way, but at the center of it, big hole. You know?
Yeah.
Having said that, I love it. I disagree with you, but I see where you're coming from.
But yeah, if people had maybe explained that to me before, just, you know, go watch that movie, and I would have had, you know what to expect. But I was expecting something completely different, and this was just, you know, criminals doing stuff. It's just bad.
Yeah, but you have a thing for the Tarantino movies. You just do not respond well to those.
I don't. I really don't.
I remember when you saw Reservoir Dogs at my place, or rather the first 15 minutes of it, and you were already ready to explode.
People don't swear that much. I'm sorry.
What the beep are you talking about?
Alright, so before you lose all the Tarantinis and they say, you know, stop this podcast, let's move on. What's your number two?
I'm sorry, we're going to lose more Tarantinis because my number two pick for disappointment is actually Grindhouse.
Okay.
Well, it's the Grindhouse movie. The Grindhouse movie I watched, it wasn't too bad, but it's Death Proof to be specific. Now, I want to explain this because this is a bit complicated. I saw Grindhouse in the theaters. Okay. It contained Planet Terror by Robert Rodriguez and Death Proof by Tarantino.
Okay.
And I actually thought Death Proof was way, way, way better than Planet Terror. I thought Planet Terror bored the crap out of me. It was just immature and childish filmmaking. And I thought Death Proof was like, no, okay, now we're getting into sort of recapturing that style, and it's just perfect timing. It's like a well-timed joke. I thought it was perfect. So when it came out on DVD, and for those living in North America, they didn't release Grindhouse on DVD right away. They released Death Proof separately and Planet Terror separately, and added a full reel to each movie.
Okay.
Like a full 22 minutes, essentially.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, more Death Proof. That's going to be awesome. Because I love this movie. Tarantino really did a good job with this. So I buy the movie. It's like, because I loved it in the theaters. I watch it. There's 22 minutes added to it. And it's not that the 22 minutes are bad. It's just, it explores the characters a bit more fully, and it's not particularly boring. It's you know, it's just conversations a la Tarantino, vulgar, but at the same time sort of interesting just in terms of how he uses language. But here's the thing. It throws off the entire rhythm of the movie. So that what used to be a well-timed joke is just like this boring string of setup until there's a little punchline at the end. You're like, it's too late. I've already lost patience with you, and I'm swearing at you at this point. Like, it completely unbalances the movie. I find the extended version of Death Proof, which I was looking forward to because I thought I liked Death Proof, completely unwatchable.
But wouldn't that mean that it's not really a Grindhouse movie because he actually made the movie so that it would be better if the extra reel was removed?
Yeah.
So it's not really Grindhouse because he didn't remove anything. He just added extra stuff for the other release. He just made, oh, now I have to do a release and kind of make it like a Grindhouse. Oh, I have to film 22 more minutes now. Let's just add this.
Well, no, I'm pretty sure he had filmed the 22 minutes in
Yeah.
question. He just re-edited the movie differently, you know.
Okay.
I'm sure there was that extra footage already. They didn't call back the actors to refilm it.
Yeah, but it's like he knew exactly what footage he was going to remove.
I think so.
So that's cheating. It's not like he made the movie and he asked somebody else, hey, okay, now you have this, remove a reel, and well, that'll make it a Groundhouse movie.
Well, it depends how you look at it. If you look at it as he's experimenting with the Grindhouse experience, if you will, then yeah, I think you're right. That would be cheating. But if you look at it as Grindhouse is a pastiche of Grindhouse movies, then he's not cheating.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
But the extended version, either way, unwatchable.
All right.
Alright, sorry Tarantinis, they're all going like, you never made anything interesting, and you're probably right, I haven't.
Yeah.
Alright, so your last pick for disappointment?
It's a video game.
Oh,
I really enjoyed the Metroid series, the original Metroid, and then I actually borrowed the Game Boy just to play the Metroid on the Game Boy, and then Super Metroid was one of the best games I ever played. And then you get the Metroid Prime, which they explore the third dimension.
mm-hmm.
It's actually a very fun game. It just gives me headaches and makes me nauseous after I've played it for like 15-20 minutes. And it's such a disappointment that I can't play it. It's a great game, I just can't play it because I get sick. I get motion sickness just playing it. And there's a problem with the game, so it's a disappointment, but not with the game. It's a disappointment with my own system that I can't play this awesome game.
You are disappointed in your neurological inner workings, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Well,
But and again, it's a huge hit, so the series is continuing in 3D, and I can't play these games because I don't know, maybe they're too real, and I'm to get too into it, and it's the motion sickness that gets me.
well, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Metroid Prime came out for the GameCube, and it was one of the early games of the
Yeah.
GameCube. Because I used to play those games without any problems, and I tried to replay them recently because I remember loving this game,
Yeah.
and now they make me sick.
Okay.
It's sort of like back then they didn't, because that's as good as you could get back then. But they've sort of fine-tuned how that experience is supposed to work, and I think that's the problem with it. You got the GameCube pretty late, if I remember, in
Yeah.
terms of existence. So I think by then, computer games, which I know you play a lot, had already evolved past that point.
Yeah, that's true. And then going back to this 3D, that was just weird. It was like, yeah. But I just love the Metroid concept of you get power-ups, and then that opens new areas for you to explore that you couldn't before. So very disappointing that I can't partake into it.
Yeah. Well, maybe the later versions, like Metroid Prime 2 and whatnot, you will be able to play, because
Yeah.
I know that came out for the Wii and whatnot. So already I'm sure there's some advances done.
I'll give them a shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the point where I was looking forward to playing the game, it's like, and then you get sick playing it. It's like, oh, this is not fair.
Damn my neurological workings.
So what is your number 3?
My number 3, I'm sticking with movies, if you can call it that. I personally call it a blur. And I'm talking about Bourne Supremacy. Paul Greengrass's Bourne Supremacy disappointed me a lot. Now, the longtime listeners will remember that I placed the Bourne Supremacy and Bourne Ultimatum as in my pick for overrated movies of the last decade. But really, I loved Bourne Identity. I thought it was brilliantly directed, and I thought the concept, the story was great. Matt Damon, awesome in that movie. Franca Potente, just perfectly cast in that role as that sort of hippie Euro trash chick that serves as a point of view to those American super spies.
Yeah.
Or British in the case of Clive Owen, I guess. But and I was like, all right, they're making Bourne Identity Part 2 Supremacy. Like, that's how I like to call it, because it makes me sound stupid. And I was like, I'm all into that. And then the critics came out and they were like, wow, Paul Greengrass reinvented the action movie. His camera work is amazing, and blah, blah. And everybody was like, you really feel like you're in the middle of the action. And so I was like, oh, I'm so going to enjoy this. I went to see it with you, if you remember. And I sat there just like flabbergasted as like, first of all, I didn't see the movie. I saw a big blur. Because that's what shaky cam is to me. So it's like, oh, she's grabbing a pen, zoom there. Oh, she's grabbing a piece of paper, zoom there. Oh, she's gonna open her computer, zoom. I was like, I can't see anything.
Yeah.
And what occurred to me is that this is the wrong take for Bourne. Like, not only is it the wrong take for just filmmaking in general. Hey, I came to see a visual medium. I like to see stuff. But
I hadn't seen Identity, so just watching Supremacy, I just found it an extremely crummy movie because I couldn't see anything. When I want to see action movies, I want to see the action. I just want to guess what the action is, and maybe this is what's happening, but I can't see anything because the camera's shaking. That's not why I go see action movies. If I wanted to imagine action in my head, I'd do it without paying like $13 to see it.
it's also the wrong take for the character, because I think the critics are right that it puts you in the middle of the action, but like that's precisely what makes Bourne different from other franchises, in Bourne Identity at least.
Yeah.
It's the fact that he's a witness to his own awesomeness, and in the first movie especially, you see him being a witness to his own awesomeness and not understanding it, and of course Franca Potente's character being a witness to his awesomeness, and everybody just being flabbergasted as like, so there's sort of like this distance about the action, and you're supposed to just go, wow, this dude is awesome. I wish I was awesome like him. You're not supposed to feel like you're awesome like him. You're supposed to envy him. You know?
Yeah, because he doesn't even understand what's happening to him, so he's like, what the hell, too? So that makes sense.
Yeah. So being in the middle of the action, I think that goes against that. So and the story is stupid. Again, I don't want to spoil it, but he ends up causing a lot of death for a reason that's entirely personal and to his emotions, and is related to redemption. It's sort of like redeeming yourself for one death that you might have caused by causing like 52 other deaths on your way seems a bit hollow to me.
Yeah.
Also, they killed Franca Potente in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well, when I went to see it with you, I didn't quite care about who that character was. But yeah, you seem pretty annoyed with it.
I really was invested in their romance. It's sort of like, oh, we finally made it together. That is amazing. Roll credits. And then as soon as the credits roll, you're dead. It's like, what? It's sort of like Alien Q, like the third Alien movie.
Yeah.
You know, when they kill Hicks and Newt and her family at the beginning, it's sort of like, okay, so the second movie was for nothing? Like, is that what you're saying?
Pretty much.
Why don't they add a flashback to Aliens where the cat that she saved dies too? You know, why not? You know?
No, that cat died of old age, Dimitri. Don't be silly.
You saw the extended version.
Indeed.
Next time we're going to talk about pleasant surprises. Please let us know about your experiences. What were your biggest disappointments in the theaters or in entertainment in general? Maybe a TV show. We haven't talked about that.
Yeah.
You can write us at mail@idiomanic.com or post a comment right below the episode at idiomanic.com. Until then,
See you next time.
yeah.